In a small cafe in a crowded corner of Tokyo, an informal concert. The soloist is Tsutomu Aragaki. A tragic accident involving eye drops left him blind at the time of his birth. His American father, with the US forces in Okinawa at the time, left for the States soon afterwards. His Japanese mother remarried a local man and left Tsutomu in the care of his grandmother.
I realize I may not be one of the great tenors, but if I can bring some joy to people by singing, if even only one person enjoys my music, then I feel my own life has some purpose.
Tsutomu's life may have purpose, but it's certainly not easy. Living alone in a Tokyo suburb, even the weekly shopping is fraught with obstacles and dangers that the sighted take for granted. It's also an insecure existence. With no set ticket prices at his concerts, he depends on donations from those in the audience. Yet he doesn't complain. Instead, he dedicates himself to following his mission, which is to bring a message of hope and encouragement to a younger generation in danger of losing its way, and to those young people who may be hurt and lonely. Tsutomu sings of his own life experience from the heart. Today, Tsutomu is visiting a junior high school in the northern part of Japan's main island. He last performed here a year before, and the reaction from the pupils was so strong that he's making a return visit. As always, he prepares carefully, checking his materials in Braille. Excitement is running high at the school, where the Students' Association and the Choral Club have organized a welcome.
We live in a world where each of you is encouraged to be number one, either at school or in your homes. Your teachers and parents keep telling you you must be number one, and not to let John beat you, not to let Mary beat you. Well, I don't think that's necessarily right. The most important thing in life isn't to be number one, it's to be the only one. What I mean by that is that each of us is unique. No one else can be you or me. We have our own personalities that no one else can imitate or take away. What's important is to live as well as you can.
それをどう一生懸命生きるかなんです。花には色々ある
Think
でしょ。
about the flowers.
バラはバラ。
A rose is a rose, a violet, a violet. Each flower has its own unique fragrance. Well, in the same way, I think each human life has its own essential beauty.
川は流れてどこどこ行くの人も流れてどこどこ行くのそんな流れがつく頃には花として咲かせてあげたい泣きなさい笑いなさいいつの日か花を咲かそうよ
Tsutomu was born in Okinawa, a small island at the very south of the Japanese archipelago. Its strategic location makes it an ideal base for US forces under the US-Japan Security Treaty. Fully 1/5 of the island is home to military installations, and 75% of the US presence in Japan is centered on Okinawa. Yomitan-son, the village where Tsutomu was born, is a local beauty spot. But it's the precise spot where the US Army landed during the Pacific War, which started in 1941. Indeed, it's the only spot where a decisive land battle took place on Japanese soil. On April 1st, 1945, hundreds of landing craft brought US troops ashore and into the village, which had been bombarded by warships. That day, they took 2 airstrips. Today, it's hard to believe that anything of the kind took place. For the first time in 20 years, Tsutomu's decided to visit his birthplace and explore his roots. His former teacher, Mr. Shiroma, has agreed to be his guide. A former minister, Shiroma has since opted for a solitary island life. Tsutomu believes Shiroma saved his life. He's like the father he never really had. Their first port of call is the church on the hill, where for 2 years during high school, Tsutomu lived with the Shiroma family. At the time, Tsutomu thought his grandmother was his mother. He believed his birth mother, who visited from time to time, was his sister. When his grandmother died, he felt that his life's history passed with her. He was without an anchor and very much alone. In a Christian summer camp, the despair finally overwhelmed him, and he attempted suicide. Fortunately, Mr. Shiroma was also in the camp.
僕はもう大人になったらお母さんを探して殺してやると、もうそんな声を 言葉をかけられたの、牧師としてそんな言葉をかけられたのはもう初めてだったし、
母親もそうですし、それから一度も会ったこともない、米軍兵の父親ですねに対する気持ちもやっぱりアメリカに行っていつか探し出して、殺してやりたいという気持ちも、そんなもう憎しみ恨み持ってましたからね。それからその目をね、失明させた、助産婦さんですか、に対する憎しみっていうかな、そういうのもやっぱりすごかったですね。
The Shiroma family took him in as one of their own. For the first time in his life, the high school first grader knew the meaning of family love. Encouraged by Mr. Shiroma and all those around him, Tsutomu went on to graduate and become a Baptist minister.
I was lucky to be able to break out of the victim mentality. Afterwards, I felt so close to my mother. It brought me to tears. But this was a totally liberating experience.
Next stop is the village where Tsutomu grew up, Yomitan-son in western Okinawa.
お家はなくてもいいんですけども、どこにあったか。ああ、これですか。今きび畑になっているところ。あ、そうじゃない。あ、この辺。ああ。
But he's disappointed. Of the small house in which he'd lived with his grandmother, there's nothing at all left. But there are other surprises. Kamado Yamashiro was a neighbor all those years ago and often looked after the infant Tsutomu, for whom she felt pity. This unplanned reunion is charged with emotion for all involved. The former neighbours are eager to welcome Tsutomu back home and have arranged a party. Among those attending are friends who protected him from those who sought to bully and intimidate him.
彼心の中ではいろんな悲しいことはあったと思うんですよね。でもそれを外に出さないで、で自分らと会ったらもういろんな歌聞かしたり、とにかく陽気な人間ということだけは僕らのイメージにありますね、今現在でも。
夜になるのが怖かったですね。というのはほら、なんていうかな、ほら隣あちこちからこう賑やかな声歌とか聞こえてくるでしょ。なんで自分だけ一人こういうところにいるんだろうっていうかね、そういう何か寂しさ、一抹の寂しさっていうか、そういうものは持ってました。
出てましたね。ちょっと寂しい表情する時ってあるんですけど、あんまり言わないんです。
そうですね。やっぱしどっかでこうあるんですけども、出さない。
Tsutomu's childhood was marked by loneliness and the handicap of being sightless. Yet these very conditions inspire his songs and now bring comfort to others who face their own hurdles. Tsutomu made a visit to his grandmother's grave with his uncle. Afterwards, he goes to his uncle's house. His uncle wants to give him something, which years ago in his childhood, Tsutomu had discarded.
お父さんの写真。
あれ。ほうほうほうほうほう。
これです。 ちょっともうお父さんの写真これは。
あんたのお父さんの写真。母似てるんだ。似てる似てる。ほほう。
もうお父さんが50年間味わってるから。
顔がね、ここかなあれ。これ。ねこっちがハゲがそっくりだなこれが。ねこっちは階級は4つあるんだ。おばあちゃんたちが言ったように4つある。サージュンだな。そうさしたらいいよ。
嬉しいですね。ありがとう。
ね。
The last photograph of Totomu's father. A Mexican-American, he'd been with the Air Force in Okinawa from 1950 to 51 and was remembered by those on the base as cheerful and friendly.
I was born in Okinawa, a place where more than 200,000 people died in the war. My father was in the American forces. So, what does destiny mean? I've spent a lot of time thinking about my own situation, thinking about my own destiny.
Braille is the medium which allows Tsutomu to study. He's able to compile references and musical scores and to call on a variety of resources. His own bookcases are filled with his Braille notes. There are scores, classical references, and pieces on theology and philosophy. His theological degree behind him, Tsutomu was not content until he entered music school and began studying song. Each spare moment is spent studying a new piece. Another day, another visit. This time to a boarding school in Hokkaido, Japan's northernmost main island. This facility is an independent Christian school designed for delinquent boys and those considered to be in danger of delinquency. Here, Tsutomu speaks out passionately.
I've often wondered, what would have happened if I could see? Would I have gone to university? I might have tried to find my father. I might have tried to kill the midwife who used the eye drops. But then what? I'd have been in jail for the rest of my life. Being a victim can become an obsession. Why me? Why did this happen to me? It becomes a lifestyle almost. And you know, there's nothing at all that's good about that. Once upon a time, my life was like that. I was a victim.
The music Tsutomu chose for this meeting was a new piece, and it had a specific message. A Buddhist group has asked Tsutomu to address them. He's a Christian, but convinced that there is one truth, he's happily accepted the invitation.
You might have heard of Paul. He was a scholar and an evangelist a long time ago. People regarded him as being without fault. But when he himself looked within, he saw something different. I am unable to do the good things I would like to do, he said, and I am guilty of wickedness I'd rather not do. What a sorry state! What hope is there for redemption? It doesn't matter, I think, what you practice. Self-interest is there in the human mind. So whether it's Buddhism's self-interest or Christianity's sin, it comes down to the same thing. I heard a story about two families. In one, there were 3 generations who lived happily together. Their house was filled with laughter, and other people thought, wouldn't it be nice to be like that? The other family was at the other extreme. People passing the house would hear their brawling, things being thrown at each other and so on. The head of this household went to the first family and said, "Please tell me the secret of keeping the peace." Well, this is the reply he got from the head of the first family. To tell the truth, there is no secret. We simply make sure we say we're sorry to each other whenever we think we've done wrong. Even if your family members argue, they're still good people. It's an odd story, but I like it. After all, why do people who live together want to argue? It's a paradox. And if it's true of people-to-people relationships, it's also true of broader social relationships, even country to country. People don't go around thinking of themselves as wrong. We all like to think of ourselves as good. And if we bear that in mind, like the first family in the story, our lives can get better and better as we support each other.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound.
I'm a singer, but not necessarily a great one. As it happens, I'm a masseur too. Maybe not great at that either. But if someone doesn't like my songs, I'll gladly offer them a massage. Of course, I charge extra for that.
Was blind
For the first time, Tsutomu is about to give a concert in the village where he was born.
Konnichiwa.
Fumi Nakamura was one of his teachers. In fact, it was Miss Nakamura who persuaded his grandmother to let Tsutomu attend a special school for the sight impaired.
はい、お邪魔します。
大学院を
This is the graduation diploma.
なんですけど、はい。
本当に感謝ですね。
本当におめでとうございます。よく頑張った。つともがこんな小さい時からここまで見ていますでしょ、ずーっと。本当に人間のその可能性っていうのを、もう旦那お子さんにもこの必ず中に持ってる何か目があるんだということね。でそれをこう育てていけば、その子のこの伸びるべき目を周囲の人が見つけて手伝ってあげれば、そういった本人がまた継続する力がさえあれば成し遂げられるんだなと思って、もう本当に継続は力なりだ。人間には本当に計り知れない可能性があるんだって言って、もうこれは実感として言えるんですよ。これは教え子たちのがもうちゃんと実証してくれていますからねって。力強く話せるわけさ。
そうですか。ありがとうございます。
あんた方が証拠を示してくれてるからね、本当に。現実のね。
ごめんください。
2 days before the concert, Kamado Yamashiro, who'd cared for Tsutomu all those years ago, passed away. To the end, she'd been eager to hear him perform. Her family are grateful to welcome Tsutomu to her wake. Before her funeral altar, Tsutomu sings her favorite song, an ode to Okinawa's natural beauty.
海の青さに空の青、南の風に緑葉の場所は情けに手を招く朝地くんじのわしたちまうちな
Finally, the day of the concert arrives. Tsutomu's friends, who planned the concert, began by worrying about the audience. But before long, the hall is filled with people eager to hear their local celebrity. Among those in the crowd, the mother who'd abandoned him through circumstance. Tsutomu believes it's ironic that if it weren't for the war, he wouldn't have been born. He sings one of his own favourite songs. The lyrics echo the pain of his early life and are a quiet prayer for peace.
There are many Okinawan songs about peace. This one is called The Sugar Cane Field. The lyrics are not particularly strong, But I think they hide a very strong wish for peace. Throughout, you'll hear zawawa, zawawa. That's the sound the wind makes through the sugarcane.
Zawawa, 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 hiroi sato kibi batake wa zawawa, 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 kaze ga tori nukeru dake. Mukashi umi no mukouから戦がやってきた夏の日差しの中でざわわざわわざわわ広い里きび畑はざわわざわわざわわ風が通り抜けるだけあの日鉄の雨に打たれ父は死んでいった夏の日差しの中でざわわ風に涙は乾いてもざわわざわわざわわこの悲しみは
Many of those in the audience wanted to give Tsutomu gifts and souvenirs. They too had survived the iron rain when they were young.
花束贈呈に参ります。どうぞ関係者の皆様方、前の方においでくださいませ。はい、どうぞ。
I heard that my mother's here today, and I'd like to give her some flowers.
But it was a childhood friend who stepped up to receive the bouquet. Tsutomu's mother had crept away in the middle of the concert. No doubt she had mixed feelings about being there. Perhaps the emotions were too much, seeing and hearing her son after so many years celebrated in the village where he was born. The concert behind him, Tsutomu visited the Kadena base. Once known as Air Force Makibaru, this is where his father had been stationed.
I've no idea whether my father is still alive or not. But I feel I'd like to meet him. If he is still alive, I'd like to sing for him. We are family, flesh and blood. That's the feeling I have.
そんな気持ちでいっぱいですね。
私が新垣さんの言葉で一番印象に残った
I was impressed when you said that being only one was what mattered. Tsutomu receives many such letters from members of his audiences. This one came from the boarding school in Hokkaido and is a particularly heartfelt plea. I told people I would kill my father when I grow up. I wanted to talk to you about it. Tsutomu was anxious to speak to the writer, 16-year-old Masakazu Nakamura. So, between concerts, he made another trip to Hokkaido. Masakazu waited for him eagerly. He felt Tsutomu understood his pain and loneliness. Masakazu is soon to graduate, and he'll look for a job in Tokyo. But for now, it's deforestation day, and he's ready for work. It's hard work too, trudging through the snow and cutting down the trees, yet he willingly chooses one of the largest. Tsutomu wants to encourage him. Masakazu's tackling the trees is a sign that he can survive and be strong.
Forgiveness is difficult, I know. Especially when it concerns your father. I've thought about that a lot and spent a lot of energy on it. But finally, when you manage it, it feels good. You'll feel better if you can forgive him. It's a feeling of repaying something rather than one of revenge.
ね。
From another high school student, Tsutomu heard another view of what war and peace mean to today's young people.
この中でですね、
Shoko Kenmochi has written about a trip to Okinawa during her summer vacation. And she describes a very moving experience she had there. I'd like to ask her to read it for us.
よろしくお願いします。
沖縄には戦争で負傷した兵士を看護するために夢入り部隊として戦争へ参加させられた女学生たちがいたのです。なんと彼女たちのほとんどが私と同じくらいの年でした。
During the conflict, the military quickly organized 14 and 15-year-old students into the Star Lily Corps. Their task was to nurse the wounded. On June 19, 1945, 49 such students were shot to death by US troops and their bodies left in a cave. They'd finished nursing and were trying to leave.
私は自分と同じ年の女の子が戦場へ行かされていたことを初めて知りました。彼女たちはその傷口にびっしりと張り付いた渦を痛かったでしょう、ごめんなさいと言って取ってあげるのです。本当に自分と同じ15歳なのかと信じることができませんでした。彼女たちの生きた15年間は私が生きた15年間よりずっとたくさんの苦しみや悲しみ、そして喜びがあったと思います。今の沖縄はとても発展していて、ここでたった50数年前に戦争があったとは思えないほどでした。戦争を実際に体験している人たちがだんだんと少なくなり、戦争への悲しみや恐怖が少しずつ薄れてゆき、そしてまたいつか戦争をする日がやってきてしまうのではないかと思います。どうして人が人を殺すのでしょう。全く私には理解できません。そうならないために私たちはもっと戦争のことを知り、それを伝えていかなければいけないと思います。ムチドゥータから、それは沖縄語で命こそ最も大切という意味です。
On August 6th, the anniversary of the dropping of the first atomic bomb, Tsutomu went to the Hiroshima Peace Park.
この花どこに行くの？これをどうするの？置いていいの？
A famous statue there is dedicated to the memory of Sadako, an A-bomb victim whose will to live drove her to make 1,000 paper cranes. On the anniversary, the statue is surrounded by cranes that are made by children from all over the world, like Alicia from the USA.
I forgot your name. What is your name?
Alicia.
Alicia? How do you spell?
A-L-I-C-I-A.
Alicia.
She's going to sing a little bit of that part that she sings. Go ahead and sing.
Go ahead.
What is your favorite thing?
Oh, the Sada cuenta some paper green. She's gonna sing for you a little bit. Okay, go ahead.
翼を広げて舞い上がる舞い上がるただこの夢のせ平和の鐘鳴らそうみんなで探そう Thousand paper cranes, thousand paper cranes, spread your wings way up high. Dancing through the sky, dancing through the sky, with Sadako streams will fly. Bells are ringing, children singing, peace is rising in the world.
平和という
It's easy to say the word peace,
つかみどころがないような
but what do we really mean by it?
言葉ですけども
It's a huge concept,
もっと自分の足元にあるんだと思うんですね
bigger than we can imagine,
家庭の平和
and
で
yet there is something more basic in it too. It begins with us, in our hearts and in our homes, through friendship and through forgiveness. I think that's where it really
そういう
starts.
ところから始まっていくんじゃないでしょうかね
Tsutomu will travel anywhere for the sake of children. Today he's giving a small concert in a residential part of Tokyo.
暗い夜空を迷わずに二人の星を照らしておくれ近い近い夜明けは近い銀色の遥かな道遥かな道遥かな道
Of course, being blind is inconvenient in many ways, but it's not a cause for unhappiness. I'm an ordinary person like everyone else. I have my problems and disappointments, certainly. Maybe I always will have. But I don't dwell on what's negative. I'd rather look at the positive. That's the way to overcome problems.
それを乗り越えていけるんだと思いますね。
あなた歌がうまいですねなんて言われる。
Of course, I'm always very pleased when people like what I do and tell me that they think I sing well. But when people say that they're encouraged or enthused by my singing, that's when I feel really happy.
Tsutomu regularly walks in the small park near his home. It's good exercise, of course, but it also gives him a chance to meet the local children.
何クワガタ？
アカシクワガタ。
アカシクワガタ。
違う、クワガタだよ。
小さいね。
お名前何君だったっけ？
井上智弘。
井上智弘君。いい名前だね。将来偉い先生になるかもしれないね。
虫が好きなんです。
ね、虫のね、専門の先生になるといいね。
Tsutomu has known loneliness and darkness much of his life. He's thought a lot about what it means to be without sight in a world full of colour. Yet his spirit is such that he's able to make a difference in other people's lives, like the young boy who wanted to die.
知らないはずの父の手に
Tsutomu Aragaki continues to sing his way through life and to carry his message to the children. Perhaps it's a message for us all.